Thank you for joining me here this evening. The time is now 8:45 p.m. Central, 9:45 p.m. on the East Coast, and we are doing our final live update before Hurricane Helene makes landfall, likely as a high-end Category 3 or even low-end Category 4 major hurricane. This is going to cover a lot, so if you have any questions or you want me to slow down, let me know down below, please, because sometimes I talk too fast, sometimes I skip over important details. I'm not perfect, so I'm going to need your guys' help to let me know what I should be focusing more on in your opinion. So, before we started the stream, we did just get a brand new tornado warning for a storm in Charlotte County, Virginia. We've had 4 tornadoes today. This is a storm that honestly doesn't look super impressive to me. We've got a little bit of contamination mixed in with some potential rotation near Phoenix. But if you're in this area, seek shelter immediately anyways, as the National Weather Service in Blacksburg has issued a tornado warning. So with that out of the way, again, we're going to do some brief severe weather coverage intermittently during this stream. Let's go ahead and talk about this hurricane. So currently, Helene is a high-end Category 1 hurricane undergoing rapid intensification as we speak. Hurricane hunters are out there right now discovering some very interesting stuff. The most recent check, this thing was at 971 millibars of pressure, and it was dropping about 2 millibars every 15 minutes, so it would be about 8 millibars per hour or greater, and that is definitely rapid intensification. This is what things are looking like right now in the infrared satellite. We can see that we're starting to get a little bit more of a defined eye wall there coming out of this thing. Again, this is looking like a pretty beastly hurricane. I imagine at the 10 p.m. update, we honestly could have a Category 2 out of this. I'm thinking they'll keep it at a Category 1, but honestly, again, by later tonight, we should definitely have a Category 2 out of this thing. And again, even at the 10 p.m. Central update, 11 p.m. Eastern, things are going to be relatively close. So, anyway, we've got ourselves a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. Alright, later tonight, again, we're expecting this to evolve into a Category 2 hurricane. By tomorrow afternoon, it could be a Category 3, and then quickly intensifying to a Category 4 after that, and then all the way up until landfall, we could definitely see strengthening with this, or at least it maintaining its Category 4 status there, and then eventually it will make landfall likely near Apalachicola is what we're thinking right now. So again, if you're in this area, I know we already have mandatory evacuations in effect for a lot of our Florida counties here. You need to get out if you're under one of those for sure. If you're in any of these hurricane warnings, again, very, very dangerous conditions are coming. So anyway, this thing is going to track further into southwestern Georgia here, and by the time it gets to parts of central Georgia, it will lose its hurricane status. But keep in mind, that is going to be a while. It is not very often that we see the entire southern half of the state of Georgia get impacted by a hurricane. After that hurricane already moved through Florida, it usually does not maintain its intensity that long, but just because of the sheer strength of the storm, it's going to be able to. Now, it's going to continue to push northward here. It's going to enter Tennessee, and then the Fujiwara effect is going to sit it here over the Ohio River for quite a while, just absolutely dumping rain on areas like western Kentucky, southern Illinois, southeast Missouri, northeast Arkansas, northwest Tennessee, and southwest Indiana. Okay, now, one of the bigger problems with this system, in fact, the biggest problem, I would say, is going to be the incredible, life-threatening, close to record-breaking storm surge for this area. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in the Big Bend of Florida. We are expecting up to 20 feet of storm surge for portions of the Big Bend of Florida, anywhere from the Suwannee River back over to Carabel. This is a very large area where we could see 15 to 20 feet of storm surge, and I've never seen this tag on the National Hurricane Center website, and that's because this is the first time they've ever issued anything like this aggressive. They didn't have anything like this for Ian, Idalia, any of the big hurricanes that we've covered in recent history, alright? This is the only one that has had the 15 to 20 feet tag ever, alright? So, not only that, but you can see pretty much the entirety of the state of Florida is going to deal with some level of storm surge. The Keys, you could see 1 to 3 feet, alright? Southwest Florida coast, 3 to 5 feet. Anywhere in between Inglewood and Anclote River, 5 to 8 feet. A little section here in west central Florida, once you start to enter the Big Bend, it gets a little bit more serious. You get up to 8 to 12 feet. In between there and the Suwannee River, you've got 10 to 15 feet, and then 15 to 20 feet for most of the Big Bend of Florida. Then you get back over towards Apalachicola, it gets down to about 10 to 15 feet again. By the time you get to Indian Pass, it's already dropped down to 6 to 10 feet, which, mind you, is still significant storm surge. That's kind of the storm surge we'd see with like a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane. By the time you get to Mexico Beach, it's going to be about 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. surge, and by the time you get into the true part of the panhandle here, it'll only be about 1 to 3 feet of storm surge. And also notice in this scenario, we can see some storm surge along the east coast here of Florida, back into parts of Georgia and South Carolina, 1 to 3 feet of surge possible over that very, very large area. So moving on to the rainfall potential here, we can see that there are a couple of tiny specks there in North Carolina that have that little pink shade there. In fact, it's just one little speck there in North Carolina. Now that pink shade, you may be thinking, well, what does that entail? 20 to 30 inches of rain from this system, and that is devastating, record-breaking, catastrophic flooding is what that would lead to there. Again, 20 to 30 inches of rain has almost never been seen over that area before, so that would lead to some seriously devastating impacts. Anywhere in the dark red shade, you can expect 16 to 20 inches of rain. Anywhere in the light red shade, expect anywhere between a foot and 16 inches of rain. The orange shade, the darker one, is going to be about 8 inches of rain to a foot of rain, and anywhere outside of that is going to be less significant totals, but keep in mind you could still see localized very heavy rainfall. So anyway, with all that out of the way, next we're going to go ahead and move on to the wind speeds with this, alright? So right now, the National Hurricane Center is saying that out here in the Gulf, Helene is going to be a beast with 130 mile per hour sustained winds and gusts up to 160, and then by later in its life cycle here, again, it will enter parts of Florida and Georgia and even extreme southeast Alabama with those tropical storm and, again, hurricane force winds. If we switch over to the hurricane force wind probabilities here, we can see that portions of the Florida Panhandle have already been pushed, the Big Bend rather, have already been pushed into the 50 to 60% chance category to see hurricane force winds. I don't know why they're not just pushing it higher than that right off the bat. They're not pushing that zone very far inland because this is only for the next 5 days. But again, as we get closer to that date, confidence will increase. These are the 50 knot wind speed probabilities and the tropical storm force wind speed probabilities. Again, that pink shade, you have a 100% chance to see tropical storm force winds at least. So, we got all that out of the way. Again, there's some other things that we're going to talk about here, but quickly, I do want to do a little chat update because we haven't really looked at chat just yet. Hopefully, you guys are having a phenomenal night. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know Ryan Hall and Max Velocity are both live right now. Several other big storm chasers are live as well, so I'm glad that you guys have chosen this channel to help you prepare for this system, really. Panama City checking in. Yeah, so Panama City, you're going to be just west of the landfall, actually, and areas that are west of the landfall are likely going to be able to miss out on some of the most devastating impacts. So Panama City, right, you are just going to be west of landfall here. Again, the red's the cone of uncertainty. Landfall could be anywhere in that cone. We're expecting sustained winds of 58 to 73 mile per hour winds in your area, we're expecting 35 to 45 mile per hour sustained winds with gusts up to 60 in your area. That's going to cause significant wind damage. The storm surge forecast is only about 1 to 3 feet. The potential impacts with that are limited. You've already seen a ton of rain from this system, but 3 to 6 inches more is going to be possible, and that's going to be the worst part of this. We could see devastating to catastrophic impacts because of that. The tornado threat, this is a somewhat favorable situation for tornadoes, but again, usually all of our tornado threat really stays east of where the system makes landfall. If we look at tomorrow, we can see that you are not even in the marginal risk of severe weather, so I don't even know why they've said that there's a somewhat favorable condition for tornadoes there. That's really not going to be the case. Again, maybe tonight, but honestly, I wouldn't bet money on that either. So, anyway, you're in a tropical storm warning. You're in Abbeville, South Carolina. I had to go to Lexington, South Carolina for dinner with more family. Yeah, I mean, pretty much the whole state of South Carolina, in fact, not just pretty much, but the entire state of South Carolina is under a tropical storm warning, so you can expect tropical storm force conditions, and what that entails is potentially up to a couple feet of storm surge if you're along the coast. Several inches of rainfall, again, will be probably the biggest problem, especially for parts of western South Carolina. We could get, over a foot of rainfall, maybe even up to 2 feet of rainfall in some spots. It's going to be pretty serious stuff, actually. 8 to 12 inches of rain in portions of western South Carolina. And again, damaging winds and also tornadoes could be a big problem. I think tornadoes and the flooding rains would be the biggest problem. Could it wobble west? When's the next update? So the next update comes out at 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern, and then the could it wobble west question. Yes, but even if this wobbled west, right, it would have to wobble west a significant amount to reach your region there. Again, you are about 55 miles, 60 miles away from where we're expecting this to make landfall. I don't think we'll see a change that significant. There's not really a chance of that at this point. I think if there were any shifts to this track, actually, it would be further to the east. So I wouldn't worry too much about you having to evacuate or getting any of the most serious impacts from this system. Again, I think things should be on the lighter side there for Panama City. Again, I think the rain may be the biggest problem, and a little bit of storm surge again if you're right along the coast there, so look out for that. But anyway, we talked about the tornado threat here a little bit. No problem, Armored. Yeah, there was a tornado in North Carolina a little bit ago. Again, we've had 4 confirmed tornadoes today. But anyway, we were talking about the tornado threat with this system, and it is pretty significant tomorrow. If you're in that yellow area, you have a 10% chance to see a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. That does not mean we only have a 10% chance to see a tornado total. The chance we have to see a tornado in general is about 100%. There's no way we get through tomorrow without seeing any tropical tornadoes. But again, any little point in there, you have a 10% chance to see a tornado. So Savannah, Beaufort, Statesboro, Hinesville, Waycross, and Brunswick, you all have a 10% chance to see a tornado tomorrow. Are any of y'all getting kicked off this stream? I hope not. I have it up on my iPad and I haven't been getting kicked, so I'll update you, Davis, and Friday all day and let you know what's going on. My local meteorologist is saying gusts up to 75. Yeah, again, for your area there in western South Carolina, again, wind would probably be the third biggest thing I'd be concerned about, right after the rain and the tornado threat, right? So if we bring this up here, we can see that we are expecting, in your area, not quite that high wind. We're expecting about 20 to 30 mile an hour sustained winds with gusts up to 45 in Abbeville, and then you mentioned Lexington. We're expecting sustained winds of 20 to 35, or 30 miles per hour, but with gusts up to 55. Okay, that's good. I was worried we were having stream issues there for a second. But anyway, again, tornadoes are going to be a big thing tomorrow, especially across parts of South Carolina and Georgia, but we cannot rule out some tornadoes in Florida as well, or even into parts of North Carolina there, so that would be something to watch out for. Obviously, most of the tornadoes should stay east of Alabama. I know we've got a lot of viewers from Alabama. Alabama, actually, you're honestly, again, really just going to have to deal with the rain from this system. I think that, again, several inches of rain is going to be possible, especially in eastern Alabama, but outside of that, things aren't going to be too serious. So, anyway. By the way, we had a massive damaging wind event today in the Pacific Northwest. We had gusts up to 70 miles per hour, 80 miles an hour over a large area. Knocked out power for several thousand customers, and that's a rural area, so that's saying a lot. Anyway, back on topic here. Again, we cannot rule out several tornadoes with this system, potentially even a full-on tornado outbreak tomorrow, and we will be live for that in the afternoon and evening time hours. And yes, we will be live for this landfall. So make sure to like and subscribe with notifications on so that you can get the latest and greatest information from Helene. So anyway, new tornado warning has just now been issued. That tornado warning is going to be going out for portions of North Carolina, Watauga County. That's going out for Boone. If you're in Boone, seek shelter immediately on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, away from windows and in an interior room. Boone and Blowing Rock, sorry. Yeah, if you can, if it's not too much trouble, if you know anybody in this area, make sure to share the stream, because this is pretty vital information. Again, a lot of people probably don't know what's going on because, you know, maybe they don't have great signal, they don't watch the news, whatever. They need to know about this. This is going to be a historic hurricane, potentially one of the strongest to ever hit this area. Again, we're expecting a Category 4 landfall as of right now, according to the National Hurricane Center, and it should remain hurricane status there. This storm should into, central Georgia. Again, I don't think I've ever seen hurricane warnings all the way as far north as Macon. That's kind of crazy. Macon, Georgia, hurricane warnings. That does not happen very often. Macon is pretty far inland. It's several hundred miles inland, actually. From where this system is coming from, it's about 200 miles inland. So, App State University's in Boone. Yeah, I knew that was one of the bigger cities here in western North Carolina. This is a pretty rural area in general, but Boone is probably home to several thousand people, I imagine. So, You're in Raleigh. What's it looking like for you tomorrow? Yeah, so Raleigh honestly shouldn't have too many issues with this. You're just far enough north to not really have to deal with the worst of this. I will say, if anything, I'd look out for some heavy rain. I do think that you are in the excessive rainfall outlook here for tomorrow. Let's check that out. Yeah, so you're in the marginal risk of excessive rainfall, so you have a 5% chance to see flash flooding in your area. But again, the threat gets much higher once you get further to the west. And again, a very rare high risk, a double high risk even, has been issued for excessive rainfall, and that is a huge deal. A high risk for parts of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, and a high risk for parts of Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia. Is it really Raleigh? I didn't know that. I've always just called it Raleigh, and nobody corrected me. Wow. No, but on the day 3 outlook, which would be Friday, you could have the minor chance of some flash flooding as well. So anyway. Let's go and go over some model guidance here. So the GFS model, as of right now, this is one of our better long-range forecasting models, is showing a pretty interesting scenario, to say the least. If we go ahead and hone in here on the southeastern United States, we can see it has this thing making landfall as a 959 millibar low-pressure system, and it really wants this thing to make landfall way further east than the National Hurricane Center is saying, right in the heart of the Big Bend there, and that would just be devastating, because again, this is the area that got hit by Debbie just several weeks ago. This is also the area that did get impacted by Idalia last year. That would be a pretty serious situation if it got hit by another major hurricane here. That'd be a pretty big deal. 959 millibars would be around a Category 3 hurricane high-end, maybe a low-end Category 4, but probably a high-end Category 3. So it's being a little bit more conservative with the strength, especially than when it was just several days ago. But the European here wants this to make landfall as a 952 millibar low-pressure system. That would definitely be a low-end Category 4 hurricane there. And it wants to go a little further west than the GFS, kind of in the area where the National Hurricane Center is saying, but still a little bit further there to the east. And then finally, the Canadian, the least reliable out of the big 3 here, I'd say, has this making landfall. It's only a 900, probably 60-ish millibar low-pressure system there in the Big Bend of Florida. I don't know about that. I think it's going to be a little bit stronger of a system than that, considering we're already at 971 millibars. So anyway. Yeah, again, though, out of all the hurricanes that we've seen in the past several years here in the Big Bend of Florida, this could end up actually being one of the most significant ones in terms of the storm surge, especially, again, the most aggressive storm surge outlook from the National Hurricane Center ever happening today. So, again, if you are in the Big Bend of Florida, you should have already evacuated. Again, if you haven't, you need to get out now. I know you may be thinking, oh, I'm a Floridian. I've been through this hundreds of times before. Not with a system this strong. It is very rare we see a system this strong make landfall in this area. It has not happened many times, really. Again, obviously, Michael comes to mind. We had Ian was way further south than this, but we've had Idalia. That was a little bit different of an area, and also that was a little bit weaker of a system than this is. So anyway. It's like 3 feet of elevation there. By the way, we already have flash flood warnings going out for parts of Florida and Georgia. It is only going to get severely worse from here. Severely worse than here. From here, rather. Again, we are expecting an unbelievable amount of rain to impact this area with severe flooding. Yeah, it's crazy. You wouldn't think it, but how bad is the impact to Indiana going to be? Probably not much. Again, really the only thing actually you'd have to worry about in Indiana would be the rainfall totals. If we go ahead and bring up the rainfall potential map here, we can see that parts of southern Indiana there, if this would like to load, there we go. Parts of extreme southwestern Indiana can expect 2 to 4 inches of rain. The southern half of the state can expect 1 to 2 inches of rain. And that's just because it's going to be stalling here over the Ohio River for so long. But, again, you wouldn't believe it, but your kid doesn't have school tomorrow? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but you wouldn't believe it, but there's so much of a difference whenever, a system makes landfall here than 50 miles away, 60 miles away. And that's just partially because of the shape of the Panhandle and the Big Bend where they meet there. And then also just because, again, really only areas east of the eye see severe dramatic impacts. So. Anyway. Let's go ahead and check up on some of our tornado warnings here. Let's go to the one in Charlotte County in Virginia, near Phoenix. Again, that's contaminated, but there's some rotation there. Near Rough Creek, seek shelter immediately. And then we've also got a tornado warning back in North Carolina here, again near Boone. Velocities are looking impressive here near Hemlock Ridge, so again, we'll watch that storm. Make sure you are seeking shelter anywhere in those tornado warnings. Again, lowest floor of a sturdy building, away from windows and in an interior room. But yeah, that's kind of the best you can do. Again, if you're in a mobile home, try to get out and find a more substantial shelter. Mobile homes are the worst places to be during tornadoes. It is even worse to be in a mobile home than it is to be outside, believe it or not. Alrighty. Correct. Yeah, the storms today on the East Coast are completely separated from Helene, by the way. We have some storms in Florida that are from the outer bands of Helene, but for the most part, this is all non-Helene related. So, I didn't really mention that, but yeah. What time should we start seeing rain? So in Panama City, let's check the HRRR model here. We'll have to look at the 23Z. The HRRR is showing that you're going to have some thunder showers and thunderstorms overnight just from the outer bands, but things are really going to pick up here in the morning hours tomorrow. Again, I think most of it should stay east of you, but you're definitely going to get in on some of those heavy thunderstorms. So, again, tomorrow morning is where things will really get bad. And then the NAM, St. Andrews Bay, that's in Florida? Okay. I was making sure that you were in Panama City. I thought that's what you said. Anyway, again, the the NAM here is showing a similar scenario where you start to get some of those more heavy thunderstorms later into tomorrow morning. The NAM is showing a nutty system. That is just insane. Again, the NAM always over-exaggerates the strength of hurricanes, but if this were to happen, it'd be a huge deal. It's going to be a huge deal anyway, a historic deal, but it would be even worse if this were to happen. Yeah, so again, you could definitely get hit by the western edge of Helene here. I just completely brain farted. What's up, Mr. Storm? Airborne. Yeah, confirmed eye. According to hurricane hunters, and again, according to hurricane hunters as well, this is also undergoing rapid intensification currently, which means by the next update, we could genuinely have a Category 2 hurricane. I'm thinking they're probably going to wait till the 1 a.m. update to say that, but we'll see. It's going to be pretty darn close. Again, I guess that'd be the 11 p.m. update on the East Coast. No, Sam, hurricane hunters have confirmed an eye with this. An eye wall. So let's go back over to North Carolina. Again, not super strong rotation, but some rotation there near 7 Devils. Good evening. We are on live. And this is my final update on Helene before Landfall here. So if you have any questions, now's the time to get them in for sure. Again, make sure to like and subscribe. We're trying to hit 2,000 by my birthday, which is in February. It'd be even better if we could hit it by the end of the year, but that seems a little far-fetched, so we'll see. We've got a ton of Storm Cheesers in position, by the way. It's not just Corey Gherkin, obviously. Sorry, it was the eye wall that was confirmed, not the eye. Maybe that would be the dream. Good chasing a hurricane. Yeah, mine's the 9th, so can't post a video tonight. That sucks. Yeah, it also causes arthritis, mostly in older folks. Or it doesn't cause arthritis, but for folks with arthritis, it does not feel good. So that's where the famous saying, whenever an old person says, I can feel a storm coming, or my knee's telling me it's going to rain this weekend, that's what they mean when they say that. Their arthritis is acting up. Seems kind of silly, but... Western North Carolina getting it tonight, and that is also in the path of Helene. No. North Carolina's not really in the path of Helene. No, but, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, I saw a Starlink satellite earlier. That was pretty cool. It was like a line of white blinking lights in the sky, and, I thought it was an unidentified flying object for a second. I really did. They got me. But then I looked, and apparently a Starlink satellite had just gone over my area, and I was like, oh, that's what that was. Got a little worried for a second. We can't bring that up, unfortunately. We can't really bring up the cameras on those websites legally. Copyright reasons, so. Yeah, again, listen to your local officials, please. Cannot hammer that home enough. Obviously, I can't tell you everything exactly about your area as well as they can, so. Use the Night Sky app on your phone, and it tells you where everything is. Oh, okay. But yeah, if you're in Panama City, just watch out tomorrow. Stay safe. Again, you're not really in one of those areas where you need to evacuate or anything, but again, the biggest thing would be the rain and the light storm surge. Is Hudson, Florida in the evacuation zone? Well, let's see here. I was gonna give you an answer just by looking here, but it looks like I'm actually gonna have to Google it because it's kind of right at that point where I can't tell if it would be or not. I imagine so. Hurricane Helene evacuation zones. That was published a day ago, so that's old. It's the problem. Everything we look at right now has to be brand new information because new things are coming out by the minute, literally. So let's see here. Well, let's just look. Yeah, 8 to 12 feet of storm surge. They've definitely evacuated that area. If I had to guess. You know what, though? At Florida Girl, if this was making landfall right on top of you and you got the worst of the storm surge, you would have to evacuate. It's not too far off from Katrina level storm surge. Not as far off as you would think. What was Katrina's peak surge? Hurricane Katrina peak storm surge. 28 feet. Again, we're forecasting potentially up to 20, so. We're really not as far away from that kind of stuff as you would think. $35 feet? I'm seeing 28 feet right here. Near Pass Christian, Mississippi. You know what, though? That only comes from NWS, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. Where, I don't know if that's just for, like, their... That wouldn't be in their NWS zone, though. Yeah, that's the highest storm surge, 28 feet, from what I see. They had it marked in Biloxi. Did not know that. Welcome back, Sam. So, tornado warning in Virginia has been canceled. And I'm not too worried about this North Carolina storm, if I'm being 100% honest with you. Seems mostly like a nothing contamination burger, if you ask me. Just think, this time tomorrow, this system will have made landfall, and it'll be sweeping through the Florida Big Bend and Panhandle as we speak. Sub count? What are we at? We are at 1577. That's pretty impressive. Even today, we've gained a lot of subs. It wasn't just yesterday. Yesterday, we gained almost 100 subs. What's the actual number? Let me check. I was having a below average month, and then yesterday all my stats spiked, and now they're above average in every regard. We gained 86 subs yesterday. You guys are insane. We had almost 200 hours of watch time yesterday. We had over 4,000 views yesterday. That's wild. Ryan just ended his stream. Maybe we'll start to see some more people tune in here then. You're in the enhanced risk tomorrow. The SBC says particularly dangerous situation was strong. Did they actually use those words? I don't think they actually use those words. Okay. Ryan has not ever came onto my stream. That'd be kind of wild, though. I don't see the words particularly dangerous situation in their script anywhere. We'll bring it up right now. Let's go fancy here. Let's Command F. Oops. Particularly... No, that's not particularly dangerous situation. Yes, there is a tornado risk, and I wouldn't rule out an isolated strong tornado, but the SPC did not say it was a particularly dangerous situation. No, it doesn't. It doesn't say that anywhere. I don't think it'll go hatch. Usually, just hurricane events in general don't have hatch risks. Thank you, Moonpar. Ryan's going to be busy tomorrow, though, so I can understand. He's always busy. Nah, but I don't really think this will go 10% hatched. Oh. That's unfortunate. Anyway, first now tuning in, I'm assuming we have a lot of people joining that just came from Ryan's stream. Again, we are covering my final coverage here before Helene officially makes landfall. Again, we are expecting a catastrophic 15 to 20 feet of storm surge for much of the Big Bend of Florida. So we'll see. Panama City is not being evacuated. Again, really the only areas that are going to seriously see, like, a major, like, definitely you need to evacuate situations are going to be areas that get directly hit by the eye wall and areas that are east of the eye wall. I do think it'll make it to Cat 4, actually. 100%. Again, at this point, it is likely a Category 2 already. Again, it's undergoing rapid intensification right now. It'll be there by tomorrow afternoon, so. Panama City didn't leave for Michael? That's wild. I mean, you were pretty far east, but still. Yeah, it's usually kind of hard to get Ryan's attention through chat. He was reading chat a lot today, but, you know, he's got 50,000 people watching at all times, so it's kind of tricky. Yeah, it's going to be a Category 4 again. I don't think it's going to get to Category 5 strength. That's a little out of reach at this point, but, again, that's a good thing. I don't want to make it sound like that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, anybody that tells you that this is going to be a Category 5 is probably pulling stuff out of their butt. I mean, there's always people that hype up hurricanes. Again, you can kind of see just by where Raider Omega's decided to place their Project Mesovort cams. Their Project Mesovort cams are kind of in the exact area where we're expecting to see the most catastrophic storm surge impacts and wind impacts. So from Apalachicola back down to Cedar Keys, where they think things will be the worst. Again, in the same area that got hit by Adelia last year, pretty much. A little further west, though. The worst of it is, anyway. Again, the entire west coast of Florida has the chance to see some surge. In fact, they're probably going to. You know, the entire coast is, I imagine. You're safe by the bakes of the north wind. You know what, though? He covers it pretty darn well, and he's got a whole team, so there's never really any serious questions to ask, you know? Alright, we don't have any tornado warnings anymore, so I think we're probably good to end off the stream here. If you guys did enjoy, please be sure to like and subscribe. Hopefully we get some impacts from Helene in my region. I am in the cone of uncertainty, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace. Said it too early. Great.